Hello everybody, welcome back to Honeysuckle Homestead Retreat. I'm Desiree, and this is part 2 of the goat series that I'm doing right now, and this will be about milking goats. Enjoy! So you milk your goats.
Yes.
What do you do with the milk?
So for milk, for us, I've retained a lot of it to feed my kids, just so I don't have to run to the grocery store and buy cow milk. A lot of it we keep for making stuff at home. We did apply for our pet food license, so that basically means almost nothing. But in the state of Georgia, you do have to have a pet food license to sell goat milk, and you cannot sell goat milk like for human consumption, basically, unless you're like a grade A dairy, for example, which doubtfully we ever will be.
There's a lot of regulations involved in that, yeah.
So much. We just want to make our own cheese and cook and provide
for you
for
to
ourselves,
enjoy. Yeah.
And like if we get to sell a little extra for pet consumption, that's fine too. You know, it is pretty expensive to maintain and feed your dairy goats because they do require a lot of food to produce a lot of milk. So you do want it to be profitable at some point. Kid sales just doesn't cut it, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when you're looking at, you know, most places that have had dairy goats for a really long time, they're also making soap, they're making lotion, they're making all kinds of other products.
Now that you can sell.
You can.
Without
because no one's
regulation,
eating
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can make all the soap you want and sell it to whoever, lotions, as long as nobody's consuming it.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, please tell me, because again, I don't make soap or lotion.
I don't either, but that sounds right. I think as long as it's not for human consumption, you can sell it.
Yeah. But don't come for me.
And I think that's most states.
Yeah.
Does goat milk require any processing before you use it for consumption?
So we have these little filters that filter out the hair and the dirt that might get in there, and that's about it. That's all I do. You can pasteurize it if you really want to. You should probably feel comfortable drinking your own milk if you're staring at your goats every day.
And you know what you're feeding them.
Yeah, and you know, if your goat has like mastitis or something like that, you're obviously not going to consume the milk, but you should be able to tell if your goat is having problems, and you shouldn't drink the milk, obviously, at that point.
So you don't, like cow's milk, it goes through processing, it's left to separate the cream and everything. You don't have to do that with goat's milk.
No, and it is actually, I believe, a lot harder to separate like the fats and things from goat milk because the particles are very small. Fat particles are really small, which makes it actually a very highly digestible form of milk. It's really good for lactose intolerant people. It's really great for puppies, babies. As I had mentioned maybe earlier, I know several people who have literally saved their children's lives with goat milk because it was the only thing that those kids could digest. They were losing weight, they couldn't consume their mother's milk, they could not consume cow milk, any kind of milk, no replacers, and they could actually digest goat's milk.
Wow.
I have met people in person that have literally saved their children's lives by a goat milk.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
that's almost like a miracle milk.
I know, and it's just fat particles, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
basically, everybody should be drinking goat's milk and not cow's milk.
Sure. I mean, I like both personally. I still drink cow milk.
Do too,
it tastes good. I live next to a dairy, so shout out to my cow dairy farmers. They supply all my hay, so I very much love them. But yeah, I think it's a really great untapped, you know, thing to consume that's very good for people in general to have in their diet. I mean, there are a lot of people that don't like milk in general, and so those people are not going to be convinced otherwise. But it is a really highly palatable milk, and we do plan on making like our own cheese, and it is apparently very easy. I cannot attest to that quite yet.
Have to try it sometime.
I will let you try it, and you can report to the people if it's any good.
Okay, I will.
I'm gonna try it. I'm stocking up my milk now. I'm freezing a lot of milk so that when I have a lot more time, I'm gonna be able to actually like process it and see where we get with that.
Okay.
But for right now, we're just cooking with it and drinking it. Actually, no, I have milk for you. all the dirt and stuff off. Clean those up. See, dirty, gross. You don't want that in your milk. And oh yeah, this is gonna be a fun little rodeo. Strip out a little bit. Yeah. And then we can run our machine.
While we watch lemon here get milked, I wanted to share with you guys some information that I learned about milk from a book called The Plant Paradox by Dr. Stephen R. Gundry. I'm just going to quote directly out of the book. About 2,000 years ago, a spontaneous mutation in northern European cows caused them to make the protein Casein A-1 in their milk instead of the normal Casein A-2. During digestion, Casein A-1 is turned into a leptin-like protein called beta-casomorphine. This protein attaches to the pancreas's insulin-producing cells, known as beta cells, which prompts an immune attack on the pancreas of people who consume milk from these cows or cheeses made from it. This is likely a primary cause of type 1 diabetes. Southern European cows, goats, and sheep continue to produce Casein A-2 milk. But because Casein A-1 cows are hardier and produce more milk, farmers prefer them. So that's from the book, but basically there is a scientific reason why goat's milk is better for you than the traditional cow's milk that you may find in the grocery store. Becca sprays this on the underside of her goats after milking to help prevent mastitis.
This is her first time getting milked by a machine, and I have only hand milked her a little bit. I bought her in milk last year after she had been dam raising kids, so her milk production was not very good. But honestly, that wasn't that bad. Marshmallow's way worse, and she's been milked like for weeks now, so I am not mad at that. I'll take it. And sometimes when you have real witches on the stand, you can't be very nice. You gotta, you know, make sure you're assertive. Let's just put it that way. Stitch doesn't have the best udder on the planet, but looking really good. She's pretty easy to get along with, so I'm keeping her for now. It cut my milk time down from about like an hour and a half to like 15 minutes or 20 minutes maybe. Like it literally almost takes more time to get the does on and off the stand, and I actually have to leave them standing here to eat, as opposed to before when it would be hand milking. It takes quite a bit of time.
So it used to take an hour and a half for you to do all your doughs by hand, and now it only takes 20 minutes?
Yeah. It's a pretty drastic amount of time. And some of them are harder to milk out. Like Oreo is really hard to milk out. For example, like her udder is technically very beautiful and she produces a lot, but like her orifices are a little small, so getting the milk actually out of her udder takes more time than it would to take me milking this dough out. So another tiny thing you have to think about when you're looking at goats. Teat size, are you hand milking? How big are their orifices? Do you want to invest in a machine? I usually let her get a little snack. It doesn't hurt anything. And so the more you milk your goat, the more it's going to produce. So normally, instead of my bottle baby being really bad and getting in there helping out, you would want to like milk out the rest into a bucket or something, just because if you ask for it, they'll give it. And as long as you're feeding your goats really well and taking good care of them, they will produce for you, given that the genetics are there in the first place. But I do feed a lot when they're in milk. They get fed twice a day, almost as much as they can eat, almost, as far as grain goes, which this is a Godfrey milk maker. It's got lots of really good stuff in it that helps them produce more milk. ADM Dairy Power is another one, but my girls are preferring this, so they get what they want. I honestly think it's a little bit cheaper. Another bonus is this is a local feed mill that makes this here in town, which is amazing, and we're so lucky because people who show use this feed. So they're having to buy it at a little bit more of an expense because they're not buying it local. I get to go straight to the feed mill and get it fresh. Wonderful. Lucky girls.
Now, how do you know when to turn the milk machine off?
So, you watch, and once that milk slows down, you can see the stream, it'll cut out. Some milk machines, and this one was a little bit of a bargain piece, but they'll have a tube here, or a cutoff valve rather, in the tube, so you can actually cut off whichever teat finishes first. This one doesn't have that, but that's okay. I just pull it off and hold the suction on this if I need to for a couple more seconds. At this point, you know, spending that extra money to get fancy stuff is not in the budget. You know, I got super lucky. I found this machine, the vacuum pump, in my friend's dairy barn. That's like a $2,000 piece of equipment right there. Just the can and the inflations and the tubing and the pulsator, that click, 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 click noise you hear that alternates, that setup's about $400. So if you're looking at getting a milk machine, it is not cheap. You know, it's basically this for like 3 more goats. When you really love goats, that's a hard decision to make. But when you're hand milking more than 2, it's just not worth the time. You still do have to clean out this machine, so I would take this milk out, fill this with bleach water, run the bleach water through, dump that out, put some regular water in there, rinse that out. It's not completely like done at this point. You still have maintenance every time you use it, but again, your timing, you know, quite reduced when you have quite a few goats. So it's all on what you want to spend. There are some machines on the market that are about $800 for your total setup. It's called Simple Pulse, and those are probably about the size of this cabinet, a little bit smaller. Those are really great for small herds. I probably would have gone with that option had I not had a vacuum pump available to me. With this setup as it is, you know, I can always order another vacuum pump down the line. The pieces are always interchangeable. The tubing you can adjust, and tubing is another important thing. I upgraded to silicone tubing instead of the plastic tubing for my milk hose, and the reason why that is because it stays more like supple when it gets really cold. So it is recommended to spend that extra like $10, just because you're saving yourself some more grunt work, and you know, when you're farming, anything that makes something a little bit easier, it's usually worth the money. Are you drinking on the, I already sprayed for teats though, you're drinking like, which is safe, I mean it's fine for you, but you know I have to do that again, right? I have to do that again. You're making more work for me, and she doesn't like to be sprayed.
So cute.
You are so cute.